had, seeming success. I had promotions. I had a good job, good status. I could go on nice holidays and, buy a handbag or two, as us ladies love to do. But there was something inside of me that just felt it was so dissatisfying. And I had this little voice saying, is this it? Is this what life is about? And I felt really ungrateful because I was following a career path that I thought was, the right way to go and that would make me happy and make me successful. But this little voice got bigger and bigger. And it was then that I decided I needed to do something about it. And so back in 2009, I went on a little journey of self-discovery to find out, what is it I was put on this earth to do? What is my true life purpose? And after working with some time with a coach, actually, I took the courage to leave my corporate job, and I set up a retreat center doing wellness retreats in Spain. And I did that for a number of years. And now I work with people on a longer term basis in order to make that change. So, yeah, I've done a career change. And I think it's a common thing that people have right now, that feeling is this it?
Yeah, I think people are getting really kind of dissatisfied with this idea of working 30, 40 years and then retiring and then fishing for the rest of their life. And it's more about where's my passion? Where do I really want to go? And do I really just want to fill up someone else's coffers? Or perhaps even, I know me for my corporate job, it's so focused around the sale and the money and all this kind of stuff. And we had this competition that we're in competition with another salesman this week, and they asked me how I felt about it, and I said, I love this other salesman so much, so whichever one of us wins this week, we both win. And that just blew their mind. They were like, who are you? And get out of this room. I mean, it just, they could not come. So it's this whole idea of like, even the corporate structure for me is not working anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think I felt like a square peg, which is a saying I don't know if you have that in the US too.
We do.
And I think a lot of people do, because it doesn't resonate with them. The thing is that, doing stuff for money only will satisfy us to a certain amount, and it doesn't give us that deep, satisfying fulfillment. I love that quote. Some people are so poor, all they have is money. And I think that really rings true for people that are looking for meaning and fulfillment.
And so what do you think right now is a really great time for people to look at career change? Are there lots of opportunities out there? How do you see it?
Yeah, I really see it more from what the person's calling is inside. So if they have a voice that's inside of them, or if they have a feeling, if they carry on for another year or 5 years or like 10 years doing what they're doing right now, are they going to have regrets or not? And almost like, what is that costing them to stay in the position that they're in? Are they happy with that trade-off? Maybe some people are. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but it's more, what are you being called for? What's your life calling for you inside of you? And if you really feel that, in a year or 5 years, like you will have regrets, then now is the time to take action, because I see so many people, wasting their time and energy doing things that they don't really enjoy doing. And life is so precious. So, yeah, I think any time is a good time if you have that calling.
Do you see this kind of like a balance sheet to ask yourself if you're getting back as much from the career as you're putting into it? Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, I think it's really about what you value. So what is it that you value? Not in terms of those values we think of honesty and kindness, but what is it that you value? Is it time with your family? Do you really appreciate helping to change the world, like us visionaries? Do you really value with animals? What things do you really value? And if your time and most of your time isn't filled with those values, then you're doing almost a disservice to yourself, because you're undervaluing your true values, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So how do you coordinate that? A lot of people, of course, when they discover they want to do something different, they usually have families and children and all kinds of obligations. How do you juggle all that?
Yeah, I mean, when I work with people, I really say it's not about sinking the boat you're on right now and just, going for a swim and hoping that a new boat will float. it really is about, building a boat that is floatable before you take the step. And a lot of people, when they're thinking about it, what I say to them is, let's explore the possibilities, because often they've spent some time with all those what ifs going around in their head. So, sometimes we can put those what ifs to bed by exploring the possibilities and saying, do you know what? I'm actually okay where I am. So the first thing is to take any pressure off. No change needs to happen. No one needs to do anything, but let's at least explore the possibility with a free heart and an open mind to see what's possible.
So you don't necessarily have to like quit the job today and then immediately become an entrepreneur tomorrow, right?
Exactly. Because like you say, we have commitments. So the first thing is explore the possibility. Then it's really about connecting to your passion, to your life purpose. What is that? Then I work with clients on the practical plan, like what is viable? What is a viable business opportunity? How can you do that? What service can you do? What kind of salary do you need to cover in order to cover your expenses? And more than covering expenses, like, what's going to make you expand?
And I mean, the universe can show up in so many different ways. I mean, I know a little bit of money fell into my lap, which, has made some different opportunities that are possible to me. So you just don't ever know where things are going to show up, right? And I think it's also interesting. I've also seen people that have been able to incorporate more of what they want to do into their corporate job. So it doesn't even necessarily mean moving out of corporate, but maybe kind of changing what that means to you, right?
Exactly, because whatever your values are, you can either choose to be an entrepreneur and work for yourself, or you can choose to work with more like-minded people or companies that share the same values. And it may be in the company you're in. So I know in the banking world where I worked, there was a big corporate responsibility arm, and I saw a few people that really had that deep feeling of wanting to change the world and make the world a better place. They would go and work in corporate responsibility and set up schools and reading schemes and all those sorts of things. And then also just people changing sectors and working more for non-for-profit, or sharing their corporate expertise in non-for-profit. So there are lots of opportunities out there, and the thing is, if you don't explore it and it just stays in your head, you automatically close down the opportunities because you just think, oh, it's not possible, it's not possible.
Yeah. Do you find a lot of people that really kind of undervalue their skills and undervalue really the possibilities of what they can do?
Absolutely. Like when I talk to people at first about their purpose or their talent, in their head, a talent is a musician, an amazing writer, but there's so many other talents. For example, you could be the most amazing organizer. You could be the most amazing host that can host space for people in order to take transformations. And sometimes we underplay those skills that we don't think they're skills. We think everyone can do that, but some people can't do that, and some people hate doing it. And if you're good at it and you love it, it's a skill.
I love it. Do you have like an interview process where you go through people and really kind of find out, kind of delve into, what is your I don't know, what is your secret skill?
Yeah, I go through like a questioning, and often the thing that it is normally something that they dismiss as silly. So when you first talk to them, they're like, oh, it's, this, but that's just silly. And then we go through a process of asking a number of questions and really connecting to the heart to check out, what the heart is guiding that person to do. And then it becomes so obvious to them as well. So it's not like I have to say, hey, I think it's definitely this. I'm not telling them anything, but really guiding them through questions. And then it's just so obvious what that life purpose is, or that talent, that it gives them a lot of comfort, because it's, not a kind of bolt out of the blue. It's kind of always been there.
Now, so do most of your people that you work with, are they doing technical sort of things, or marketing or copywriting or that kind of thing? Or do you have like any more like the intuitive type people that are doing, like I would do, like, angel card readings and things like that, healings and stuff like that? What kind of people do you
All
work with?
sorts.
All
So, I
sorts.
mean, I like to think about real examples. So I have a client right now. How can I call her? She's a shamanic healer. And she's done yoga and all sorts of things, but it's really about focusing in on her amazing natural shamanic healing skills. I have another client who is working in the fashion industry and she's a consultant. I have another client who was working in health and now wants to do retreats. Who else? Someone else who wants to be like a motivational speaker or coach. So all sorts. There's no real specific, how do you call it, industry.
Gotcha. And so do you see the market for like retreats and that kind of thing? Do you see it expanding, or does it feel like it's kind of full right now, or do you think there's like an ever a bit of availability of possibilities in that? Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's expanding and there's ever expanding possibilities in retreats. As I said, the retreat company I set up was 2011 and I set it on a small island called Ibiza in Spain.
Hmm.
And at the time, there were maybe one or two people doing retreats. We really took off and now there must be over 100. And there really is no lack thinking there, thinking, oh my God, they're going to take away our competition, or because there really is something for everyone and people are coming at it from so many different angles. And I also think that people are really wanting to invest in themselves and realizing they need to take
Hmm.
that step back in order to breathe and open up to new opportunities. And retreat space is a great place to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important, I think, to invest in yourself. And it seems like there's so much of this that's really happening over there, in Europe and things like that. I don't, from my vision, I see so much happening over there. Do you see kind of like a real expanding happening there?
It's so true. Like when we started and when been working in retreats, I thought our market would be Europe, but we have so many clients from the US, and I'm like, hey
Mm.
guys, like surely you've got so much going on in the US, especially like California. We see California as being more advanced in terms of wellness and health. And a lot of clients are like, no, like we don't have the way you have it over in the US. So I think it's expanding in Europe right now. I think there's something really going on, especially in some particular areas. So Ibiza is definitely a hotspot. There's a really special transformational energy on the island. Portugal as well is really picking up now. And then, yeah, some of the Eastern European countries. So it's pretty amazing what's happening in the European retreat market right now.
Hmm. So what are your steps for your clients? What do you tell them to do first? Is it kind of like making a bucket list of what they want to do, or their skill sets, or what?
The first thing I say is that they get to know the real you. That's because when we follow that corporate career and we go through the steps, we kind of get disconnected from ourselves. And so when you ask someone, what is it you'd really love? It almost sends them into panic because they're not used to asking that question. They're used to doing what they should be doing. So yeah, really take a step back, connect to your heart. There's a number of tools and techniques I have in order for them to do that. But if someone was listening to this right now, they could start really simply with just asking themselves, what is it they'd love to do? What is it they'd love to have for lunch? Instead of saying, well, I must have a salad because I'm losing weight, like, what do you feel like doing? Because the feeling word is the heart word. What would your perfect day be like? What are your real deep values? From there, then I would start with them to create some kind of vision of what that might look like and start to draw it and get into that creative, free, childlike, actions where you just draw what your ideal life would look like, what you would fill your day with. And that's so inspiring for people because it naturally comes out a picture or a collage, or Pinterest of what they would really love to do. And sometimes people think, well, I want to travel and I want to do this, but there are things that have meaning which they can charge a value to when they start to get into that. Then it's really about connecting to their power because they've been so used to following a set routine of what they should do. Often they're not used to putting themselves first, and they're not used to having real boundaries around their energy and about what they can do. And if they really want to commit to making some kind of change, need to get those self-care routines and the commitment to themselves priority number one, because when their cup is filled, then they can fill everyone else's cup. So really about getting them to own their space and what they want to do. And then it's about making a badass plan. So really getting into the details. If it's an entrepreneur, then getting into, I help people do that because I've set up a few businesses now in terms of who do they want to serve? How do they want to serve them? What's the unique service? What's the business plan? Is it viable or not? And step by step, working out that way. And then I always say to people, I'm sure you found this, Pete, is whatever you go for, that future version of yourself, you're not that future version of yourself yet for a reason. And so when you go for that future version of yourself, all the limits and limiting beliefs and blocks come up in order to be healed and transformed so you can step into that version. So this is like the icky wicky bit where we go walking 3 steps forward and we feel like we got smacked 5 steps back because we're hitting those blocks inside ourselves that are unconscious. So that's a bit of a kind of transformational process that we naturally go through. So helping people through that, because that's when we can lose confidence and run back to our original position and just say, forget it, I'm not going for my dreams, it's too painful. Yeah, and then the final step is really just to love your life and implement your plan and change as you go along the way.
So what kind of time frame do you usually tell people? Because I think Tony Robbins says that we overestimate what we can do in a year, we underestimate what we can do in 5 years. So what kind of, do you ever give people like time frames to kind of like know that, if they're not an overnight, because we have this lie of this overnight success, which just means that's when we all noticed them for the first time.
That is so true. And I really say that there's this like, I'm so in line with that this is like, well, you just got to make it a success straight away. And the other thing is that it's easy for everyone and you have to do it on your own. There's this real kind of stalwart, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to do it all on my own. But the fact is, the best entrepreneurs or leaders in the world, like even Tony Robbins, they have a team around them of coaches, healers, chiropractors. I know Tony has a chiropractor that help them become the best person that they are. So it's really about getting the help, recognizing that you need the help you need and getting that expert advice, because you can save so much time and energy by not running into the mistakes of doing it on your own. Yeah, and in terms of a time frame, I would say to start with, like to get to know yourself and get to make sure do the foundation, it's probably at least 3 months. Like I work with people normally on a 3-month basis, because you can't rush that process if you're not used to being connected to your heart and knowing what it is that you'd really love.
Now, are people that are stepping out on their own, if they've been in corporate, are they having trouble being able to create their own? I know you said creating your own boundaries around themselves, but there's also an idea of, when you work for a corporation, there's goals, there's targets, there's time frames. You got to be here at this time, and how do people do that where they're becoming their own boss? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it depends what type of person they are. Some people are self-starters, self-motivated, like to be disciplined and organized, and some people aren't. They just like to go with the flow, and they almost need that external motivation in order to keep them on target. So really identifying what type of person they are and then working with their own natural flow. Normally, if you really need a lot of external motivation to do something, it's normally because you don't really value it deep down. Because if you really love something, nobody needs to say to you, hey Pete, go and do that thing you really love. Like you're normally like, as soon as you've got a few free minutes, going on the internet to research about that, read it, book it. So yeah,
I love it. And so what are kind of like some starting steps? Like if somebody wants to be a speaker or motivator or whatever, do you start with like podcast? Do you write a book? Do you do blogs? Is it about the website? Is it on Facebook? Is it another piece of social media? There's so much out there. I think that people get so overwhelmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's so many experts right now on every different type of topic. Actually, I have a client who wants to be, well, her passion is vegan and plant-based living. But when she looks at what's out there, she's so disheartened. She's like, there's so many people doing it great. There's so many people doing it bad. I don't see what the market is. So what we're doing is really, before going out there and doing anything, is putting her thought piece together, her take on the world, you know. So actually I've advised her to start writing a blog that's not published, because, well, she has the time to do this, you know, she's not in a rush, but there she is creating her own take and thought piece on the world, instead of just, you know, scatter firing and just hoping for the best. In time she'll develop her uniqueness from that. And then, you know, in terms of which way to communicate on social media, whichever way you like. Some people hate video, some people love radio, so there's a natural aptitude that we have that draws us towards that. And I would say to people to do that first, and to master almost one area before going into others.
I love it. I love how you're talking about people putting their own signature on things, because so many times I'll listen to people and they sound just like somebody else. It's like they're just kind of regurgitating which, you know, we're all standing on the shoulders of giants, of course, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly. Yeah, I mean, you see something and then you see 10 other people doing something similar, or they've read the same book that you did, and they're just trying to make money out of a book, you know, that they read. So yeah, I think it's important that I think the basics actually underneath developing your own thought piece is also becoming a real expert in that area, because there's so many, I don't want to say cowboys, but you know, people that are saying they're experts and they're not really. And I think the basis of being confident in selling a service and getting clients is knowing that you have a good service, and that doesn't come from starting too quickly. It comes from whatever you want to do, whether it's a course or reading, you know, being an expert in a particular topic, but because you've read so much about it, you've experienced it personally. So I think there's something to be said by really knowing your game or your program or what you're offering before you start going and serving out to the world.
What do they say? 10,000 hours makes you an expert.
I love that book. It's Malcolm, I can't remember his name now. It's that book though, isn't it? I can't even remember what book it is. Tipping Point or something. Yeah, I think that's really good. I mean, maybe we don't need to wait to do 10,000 hours, but let's not start after 5.
Right. I love it. So how can people work with you, and what kind of people are you seeking? What is your avatar client, I guess I'd say?
Oh, I know, that's so tough. Well, people that have that inner calling, that they really just want to have a change, and they, you know, they're ready to start changing now, and they want to explore it with, you know, no commitment that they have to make a change, but they want to listen to that inner voice that's calling them and start to explore what's possible for them. Typically I work with people that have that inner voice that's starting to wake up, and I would say speak to me, or if it's not me, someone like me, as soon as possible. Because I have a few clients I have one client, for example, who did she knew she wanted to make a change. So 4 years ago she decided, okay, I'm going to do a particular medical degree, and she's just at the end of that now, 4 years. And she's just called me and she's like, this isn't what I want to do, and I've spent probably 200,000 doing it and all my time and energy, and I don't want to do it. So I would say start as soon as you can to explore. Don't just plaster over the wounds or the voice. Like, listen as soon as you can, really, because you deserve to listen and to live a life that's fulfilling.
And I also run into a lot of people that are professional students. You know, they buy everybody's courses, they go to everybody's retreat. They, you know, just like this is this never-ending cycle, and you know, there's some terrible war stories out there about how much people have spent on some of those things too.
I know, and I must admit, when I started my coaching, I've done a lot of coaching qualifications, but I did get sucked up for a while into doing all of these courses, and then I was thinking, hang on a minute. I think people that are doing a lot of courses for courses' sake actually don't feel that they're good enough. That's the they're looking to delay what they're, so really they need to work with someone and break through and find out really what's going on, because that sounds like a limiting belief to me.
Yeah, it's almost like they would need somebody like you to say, okay, here's your target, and I'm putting you on point to where by this time you have to, because I think that's kind of required for a lot of people is to, to have not only the vision of that's possible, but I guess the what's the word where they have to be accountable to you, right?
Accountable, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I do, when I work with people, I do, yeah, make them accountable, because hey, they've invested money within themselves through me, so I'm going to hold them accountable that they get that investment back, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't do that for them, only they can do that.
Right. Plus, you can see the vision of where they can go. Probably, it's so much easier for other people to see who we are and what's capable for us. And
Exactly. And that's why, I have a coach, and I will continue to have a coach, because you can't see like the wood for the wood for the trees, that's it, or the trees for the
mm,
wood sometimes. So yeah, I think it's good to have that sounding board to see what's really going on. And then when they say to you or they ask you a question, it's so obvious.
right, right. Well, awesome. Well, so how can people get in contact with you, Kelly?
They could go to my website, kellymorgan.tv, as in television, or they can contact me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook a lot, and I have a lot of people that contact me through Facebook Messenger. So, yeah.
Awesome. Any final thoughts before we go today?
Yeah, don't plaster over that little voice inside you too long. That's my biggest wish for you, because the sooner you can look, the sooner you can start living a wonderful life.
I love it. Well, this has been Pete Cosman here from the Positive Vibes Show from Project Positive Change with one of our visionaries, Kelly Morgan. Of course, this show, Positive Vibes, is about really showing the amazing people that we have in Project Positive Change. Would love for you to contact Kelly Morgan at kellymorgan.tv and see if she can work with you on getting your perfect business, your perfect career, your perfect life really moving. Or if you're interested in becoming a visionary, come contact us here. And we will say goodbye.
Bye.